All right, what's up, real estate business builders? We've got a guy on the podcast today that's been in real estate probably for too many years. A decade is when we met. And Scott Sillari is now the chief guy at Real Synch, which is a piece of tech that solves a lot of problems that agents and teams have, and just the disparate dozen technologies that we all use. I'll let you chat about that at the end of our conversation. But Scott, give us a couple minutes, like a little snapshot of your journey in real estate. And I know there's three things, on the podcast. You're listening if you want to learn something about a journey in business or growth, or what gets in the way of growing a business. And you've sort of thoughtfully put together a few points that you want to share with us today. So give us a quick intro,
sure,
and then we'll get into it.
Yeah. So, as you said, Scott Sillari with Real Synch. So when I started, Lars, as you know, I had some real estate experience, but the reality is I started working with real estate teams and owners and business owners in 2012 as a partner and executive at Viral Marketing. And that was a service that did, video marketing, whatnot, but that's where we met. And yeah, man, that really got me kind of looking at real estate from a different perspective, not just like working in it as a realtor or as I was an appraiser, but more like working in it from a business standpoint and learning how businesses needed to function to be successful, to transact real estate, to hire and to generate leads and to have technology and all the processes and the operations and the admin, all the things that I've, watched you train and all these other people in, through the real estate space over the years. Right.
Yeah. Awesome.
So, yeah, man.
So you're definitely qualified, because I know you've even with Viral, getting someone to do just 2 things a month was like a monumental, like, how do I log into this thing, and all that stuff. So for you to be pitching a tech stack to the industry, or a tech solution, must come with its own challenges. But unpack the few things you talked about, being true to yourself, the evolution of technology, and then the importance of a team. So let's start with this thought of being true to yourself as you kind of evolve in your business.
Yeah. So like I was thinking earlier, I really wanted to add a lot of value and kind of teach something to your your client base here. And the reality is, as I think back, like one of the biggest things that I know I struggled with is that you're being pulled and prodded. You're seeing what others are doing, and you're just trying to find your own way as a leader and a business owner as you continue to grow. And I think one of the biggest things that I've learned is that you just have to be really true to like who you are as a person, the values that you try to live by, and also show. And I think as you're on this journey, which hopefully you're enjoying this journey because it's not easy, you can look back and go, you know what, I made these decisions with the best of my ability and the most knowledge I had that was true to myself. And so I think it allows you then, as you're growing and as you fail forward, to look back and go, you know what, I did the best that I could at that time. I made the best decision that I could at that time. And I stay true to what I believe in, and I'm not making decisions based on what I'm seeing others do, because the reality is what others are doing may not be the way that you should be making those decisions, for your business. So I thought, staying true to yourself, staying authentic, and that goes in as you like think about that when it comes to your relationships with your clients and, buyers and sellers and your database and all the people in your community. That's what you need to be doing too. You need to be showing who you are as a person and being, genuine, right? Whether it's in, interactions on the phone or face-to-face, or if you're meeting people in the community. But how do you expect to really generate and make a great business if you can't be that person that you want to be internally and externally with those relationships that you're trying to build? So I thought that was something that I really I wasn't like that right at the beginning. You kind of have to learn how to be the person that you want to be as you grow within business,
Yeah, that's awesome. And I want to go deeper on one thing you said, and I'm going to read. I'm not going to say who this is from or who it's about, But I'm going to read this. It kind of gets to the thing that you just said about, comparison, and, we try to model after people that we think have it together. So this is from a guy that I know his business really well, and he sells hundreds of homes, and he's on the right economic model. But he says, a guy went from 40 agents to 240 agents. Some other stuff. But then he kept asking, people were like, man, you've collected these agents, you're doing 800 transactions a year. He made $24,000 last year. So he's assembled like this sort of brokerage, only making $24,000, literally making $2,000 a month. So you would look at a guy like that and you would think, man, 800 homes in a single year. And literally the agent out there selling 4 homes a year is taking home more money than that guy, with no overhead, no stress, but they're not pretending, so it's just an interesting thing when you said it. What have you seen, in our industry around like this comparison? It's just a trap. You can't win it. There's always someone that has that's skinnier than you, or their kids are better behaved than you, or their business looks better than you, or they're prettier on Instagram. What have you learned in our industry that's very vain, very sort of brand image focused about the comparison trap?
Yeah, I mean, what I've seen over the years, right, is that the reality is that a lot of real estate agents and teams, they spend a lot of time on Facebook and Instagram and those social media platforms because there's a lot of Facebook groups and a lot of private groups. And there is a lot of education there, but also you can find yourself in a trap of like, well, this team's doing this much business. Why am I not doing that? Or what are they doing? Or you don't really know what's behind the scenes, Lars, right? Like and this goes back to the text you just read. So I think the biggest thing that you can take from that is don't just look at like what they're putting on social media. It's like the whole thing when you see people like on vacation all the time on Instagram. Well, it's like, yeah, there's billions of people that live in this world. People go on vacation. But like, if that's all they're posting and that's all you're seeing, then you're like, I should be on vacation too. I should be living like that and living a dream like that. It's like, the reality is they're probably working 340 days a year too, but like they just happened to go on vacation at that time they went on Instagram. So it's the same thing. You have to surround yourself with the right people and the right groups, where you're in actual groups that are authentic and where people want to help each other. And it's not necessarily this comparison thing. It's like, hey, how can I learn one really good thing from that business and one really good thing from that business, and then execute on it, see if it works in mine. If it does, great. If it doesn't, that's okay too. It's a learning experience. You move on and you go and try to implement or execute on another good fundamental business idea that's going to allow your business to move forward, right?
Yeah, it's really good. A fundamental business idea. And I would caution everyone as you might fall into this, because we all do from time to time. If you're ever going to take advice from anyone, I jokingly say, I want to get a blood sample. I want to talk to your wife. I want to see your tax returns. I want to get a sense of let me meet with your dog to see if you kick your dog every night, because I think there's just stuff that, nobody knows what's going on. So anyway, that's really good. Unpack the next point. And this is something I know you're super passionate about, spending time with Viral and helping build that business, and what Frank's doing over there. And since 2020, you've been working Real Synch, which is essentially trying to get in the midst of all these tech issues and kind of connect things together. So talk about the evolution of tech in the last decade in real estate.
Yeah. So when I started with Viral, I knew nothing about technology. I could barely use a computer. I was awful. Frank used to joke, who was my partner, Scott, I don't want you using a computer. Just stand there with the phone and I'll put you on the phone and you just do sales, right? So I think it's significantly evolved. And the reality is technology can help your business, right? You just need to make sure you understand what tech you're putting into your business and that it can connect and integrate with everything else that you're using, and it becomes more efficient and it automates things, right? When you like, and a good example of this is like when you go on to Amazon, like think about how easy that process they've made for you. Like it seems like it was just like, oh, this is just simple to set up. But the reality is there's so much happening, right? But like you can literally click, swipe by, it hits your credit card, you get an email into your inbox immediately. It tells you like when that's going to arrive, and then it shows up. And most of the time it's the right product. Not all the time, but most of the time. Like it's the easiest thing in the world. Like that is what consumers expect, Lars. So like when they get into a real estate transaction and you don't have certain automation set up to where it's like this seamless process that they're used to. Again, we think about behavior all the time. Like you don't want to have to change someone's behavior. It's the same thing when you recruit and hire someone, Lars. Like trying to get an agent to take on new behaviors, it's a very difficult thing to do. And it's the same when you're selling any product to an agent. You try to get them to do new behaviors, it's not going to work, right? It's the same thing with the consumer. Their behavior now is everything's on this supercomputer on their phone, and they use applications that are simple to use, right? And it's a simple process, and and everything's automated, right? So we've seen this transition from when I started in 2012, where you're hoping that you can have a database of people in a CRM, and that was like the extent, and maybe get some emails or have an email campaign. We used to use Infusionsoft. It was crazy, right? To now where it's like when you meet someone and you put them into your phone, like they should be getting a welcome email. They should be going on to campaigns. There should be texts that are automated. There should be, videos of you coming to them and all sorts of stuff that you literally don't have to do anything. It's just part of the technology stack that you have, right? So, and that's the expectation of the consumer.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other lessons that you've seen? I just talked to a big producer, and couldn't really even figure out how to get on the phone with me, and she was just crushing it in her market, like top of her market, top team, top agent in her market. How do you handle something like that? Like from a tech standpoint, there are folks in our industry, like even what you were saying. I mean, you're naturally gifted in sort of more of a sales in front of people, and you don't want to think or deal with the tech. How do you even get into that part of it?
Yeah. So I think, you have to step back, and it's tough, Lars, because if you're doing something that's working really well, it's hard to like step out of that lane and go, well, if I also do this, maybe I'll create a whole nother path that's going to, get my business to take that next step. Right. I think I think it goes back to like what I was going to talk about third, which is hiring people, right? And that process of getting superstars. But like you have, like when you get to a place and hopefully you have, good profit, and you're in a position where you can hire and start hiring people that are more internal focused instead of external, right? So every business gets to a point where once you've figured out the sales and the sales processes and hiring sales agents and all the way the transaction flows administratively through the business, then you have to start putting in people that are actually going to facilitate things within the business that are internal focus. And I think that's where you can bring in someone, maybe even from outside industry, but someone that has experience with technology and can come in and look at your systems and poke holes in it and figure out like what you can do to even level up those salespeople to be more efficient and effective with the leads that you're generating for them and the business that they're generating, right? And I think so they start to go really hand in hand, because the more deals you're doing, the more agents you have, the more things are slipping through the cracks as well.
Yeah, awesome. So let's transition. I want to chat a little bit about big topic, but you mentioned, the challenges with, surrounding yourself with folks and succeeding through others. What are some of the lessons you've learned around, a team and hiring and firing and coaching and all of that madness?
Yeah. I mean, you've seen it all. Probably way more than I have, Lars, to be honest with you. But there's so many different philosophies around it, right? Like, hire slow, fire fast, or I've heard the opposite. I mean, the reality is like, man, the thing that I heard the other day I was watching a podcast or a video, right? But it was a podcast. And then he was talking about some billionaire CEO that he talked to, but he's like, if you're hiring a superstar right away, right? You don't necessarily know if they're not going to be a superstar right away. So it was very like, I was like, wait, that's kind of sounds redundant. But the reality is like, if you have any sort of inclination that there's a missing behavior, motivation, or a skill. So those are the three things that you should be looking at when you hire someone, right? Maybe they're going to fit a position, but I guarantee that specific part of the triangle is going to rear its head at some point, and you're going to have to fire them. So what is it worth to hire and train someone to get them up to speed when they're missing a vital part of what you need for that particular position, just because you got to fill a seat and have someone doing some work? So may not be worth it. So I've experienced this in hiring people and having to fire them. It's terrible when you have to fire people, right? I literally had to fire two people last week, right? For different circumstances. And, I'm not going to go into details about it, but the reality is that was terrible, right? Mm-hmm. At the same time, I could look at it like, all right, well, now I've freed up some revenue, right? Or payroll. And what am I going to do with it? How am I going to maximize it? What's the positive outlook on this potentially for the company? But you have to mitigate the negative tone that puts on your culture every time you let people go, especially if they're entrenched in your business, So I think when it comes to like the hiring process, you really need to do your due diligence, to spend time interviewing them, having trusted team members interviewing them, and take them through the process of like, are they really a good fit for this position and for your business and for your culture, of course, right? But the biggest thing that I always look for, and this is something that you want to put every new employee on a 90-day period of like, hey, like I'll fire you anytime within 90 days if you're not exceeding the expectation that I'm putting in front of you, right? You're on a probation period. And I'm always just paying attention, and you can identify it virtually just as much as you can one-to-one. Our whole company is virtual. We've been virtual prior to COVID. All my employees are all over the country, and we run an amazing business when it comes to that, doing it virtually. But you can identify whether or not someone's got the right motivation, behavior, and skills for the particular position. Those are always the things that I'm thinking about constantly in every communication and engagement with an employee. Are they living up to the expectations of the position and of the company that I've set forth from the day they started, and or exceeding them? And if they're not, where are they falling short? And does it become a pattern within a particular area of that triangle that I'm always paying attention to?
Yeah, that's awesome. And to your point, and we have the same sort of viewpoint, it's you're earning your spot on the roster 30 days at a time for 90 days. And it's not going to get better. If somebody shows up the first week, or, we've had someone show up like it's clear, like you have to be here at this time on your first day. And they just stroll in and they think it's real estate, it's casual. And it's like, there was no uncertainty. Like you're just not on the team,
Yeah,
and
so how did you handle that? Did you just walk them out at lunch or what?
No, they're just out at that moment.
Yeah.
And we've had people that know that, they like 2 days in a row, they, because we knew, and I didn't always run it that way, but we knew that to be successful in real estate, you have to have some sort of standard for your life. Where you're not going to succeed at the level you're telling us you want to, unless you do the things that we are asking you to do. And we don't get like overly emotional about it or sad about it. It's you didn't make the team. It's like, it's a sports analogy. There's 200 players, opting for that 62 player roster, I think, in the NFL, whatever it is, right? There's a crazy amount of guys that come in. to try out, 6, 7, 8 guys deep for two positions, on the field or whatever. So same thing.
And there's always someone better. There is. And so like the one thing that you'll know if you have a real superstar is if they really level up your business and like alleviate things that you have to do, and then like grow the business in places that you wouldn't think that you could grow it. Like they innovate as well. Like that's how you know you really got a superstar. Everyone else, there's someone else that maybe can probably do the position better. So it's like, don't get in your own head thinking like, oh no, this is the best it could be for this particular position. The reality is that there's so many people out there that are hungry and motivated and that want to come in and show that they could be successful, and going back to what you said, it's like, it's the iceberg effect too. Like, people put on a show during interviews, and some, especially if you're hiring salespeople, like they're good at selling. They could be good at selling you to get them in the door. Right. But then if they don't have the fundamental behavior traits of like, I'm going to show up on time, I'm going to hold myself accountable, and some of those things, which some salespeople don't, then then you have to make quick decisions like you did, Lars,
Yeah. Awesome. So what's the one thing to shift gears, and then I'll have you talk about how to get started with Real Synch. What's the one no-brainer application of Real Synch? I think I know what you're going to say, but I'll let you say it. Somebody can come in, hook it up, and like instantly they're like, holy cow, how did I not see this, or how was I missing this?
Yeah. So dude, I would say the one, and you're right, I just mentioned it, is our Google Contacts, or basically it's like your phone connected to your CRM, right? So why it's a no-brainer? One, you can get, it's really cheap. You can get started for free even on it, but like you come in and the value, it gives you a couple options. As a team owner, you can migrate all the contacts from all your agents on your team, added their Gmail into your CRM during the setup process, right? That's one feature. And you can control it by filters on like which ones you want to go in. The second thing is, once the integration's set up, like you're out and about, you meet someone, you add a contact to your phone, it instantly goes into your CRM. Now, if most of these CRMs, Lars, now have some sort of automation or welcome email when you add a new lead, or you should have that set up at least, right? Because the reality is, like, if you're meeting someone, you're not getting in your CRM and you forget, and then you don't put them in for a week, they forgot about the conversation you had. You kind of forgot about it, right? So it needs to happen really quickly. So that's the no-brainer, honestly. And then we have a ton of other, obviously, integrations on our platform that we can help you set up, of course. But the reality is that one is very seamless and easy, and it's just working in the background when you're using your phone. Because most of us have set up, like if you use Google, and we're going to have this for Microsoft soon as well with Office 365, but when you use your Gmail and you like set up that app or set up Gmail on your phone, like it asks you at the beginning when you're setting up your phone, like if you want to have it syncing to your contacts in your phone. And if you said allow, then it's already set up. But we also have articles on how to do that if you didn't allow it initially. But dude, it's real seamless, because it just, again, it allows you to be using your phone and then getting people into your CRM. And that's simple.
Yeah. And so I want you to talk for just a minute on how powerful just this one thing could be, given the context of viral. And I even remember, you actually made the calls for people on their click reports, right?
Yeah.
So it was probably very painful, but you still proved
it was funny, man. It was fun though.
Yeah, there's lots of business there. So in the context of that, like there's business in what you just talked about, and it's a low barrier. But just talk about that for a second. Like, the people are happy to help you. You're just not letting them into your world and sending out newsletters and just doing the video marketing or that sort of stuff. But it starts with, getting them into your database.
Yeah. So it starts with like, you're using your phone all the time. You're on your phone all the time. When you add a person, whatever way you add them into your phone, it gets them into the CRM, right? Then you have some sort of welcome campaign or automation, hopefully some sort of task for phone call follow-up with that person, right? And then additionally, like it's a timestamp and you're having a note or something where it goes like, you know what you talked to, right? You know what you talked about within that particular conversation. But, you know, there's other things you can do from there. When we talk about viral, we have integration with, you know, My Emma, which is what Viral uses, or some sort of newsletter solution, MailChimp or MailerLite or whatever. So then you can send that new lead into that email marketing system. So then they're getting your marketing, and then you can get data back from their engagement into your CRM on that contact record and see what they're engaging in. They're engaging in, you know, buyer, seller type links or what have you. But like the value goes back to, as you always say, like the sales and the follow-up, right? Like when you're meeting these people, obviously, like if they're ready to buy, they're going to tell you or do something, right? But like, most of them aren't, and they just need to be communicated with and shown value and connect with you. When we talk about being authentic, hopefully your marketing isn't just some canned thing, that it actually has some authenticity of who you are as a person in there, whether you're writing the content or someone else is writing it for you, or you're doing videos or whatever, to show like who you are as a person, right? So you can connect with them. Hopefully like that's happening. And then as you see them and they get engaged and they're in your, you know, you're in your sphere now, you have the right then to follow up, because you've been providing value, to have a conversation with them. So you got to earn that, right? And I think earning that is, let's get them into your system so you don't forget about them, because a lot of times you're busy and you forget.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. What's the easiest way to get connected with Real Synch?
So yeah, Scott at realsynch.com, and that's SYNCH. The C was $10,000 for the domain, so we said no. So we added the H. So Realsynch, Scott at realsynch.com, or just go to realsynch.com and you can, you know, schedule a consult with us, and we'll talk you through your tech and see if we can help you figure it all out. Yeah, man.
All right, guys, head over there. If you need anything on the real estate front in terms of growing and scaling, I'd say just grab a copy of the book. Go to scaleorddiebook.com. All right, brother. Be good. Appreciate you.
Thanks, Lars. Appreciate you, man. Later.
All right.